Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Get Into It with Gila. I'm Gila Glassberg, registered dietitian and certified intuitive eating counselor. And today I have Tamar Garnick. Hi, Tamar.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Thanks for being a really good sister and joining me.
You're welcome.
Okay, so tell the listeners, where do you live and what do you do?
Okay, so I am Tamar Garnick. I live in Philly with my husband and my son, Zachy. And I am an actor and a teacher.
Okay, let's start with the actor role. So what does that mean that you're an actor? Like, do you act every day? Like, are you becoming famous? Where do you
I
act?
am famous currently.
Yes.
So basically, I always had a passion for acting and wasn't always able to channel that passion into something specific. But when I got a little bit older, I was able to find different outlets that worked for me in the Frum community, that I was able to do it in a kosher way that kind of made it that I could still find myself and express myself in this art. So I have been in a few of Monkey Weingarten's movies, and a few other movies, and I've done a few advertisements, and I also teach acting to kids, teens, and women. And yeah, I'm always growing. I'm still taking acting lessons now. I'm always growing in my acting, always trying to get better and stronger at it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
You always knew that you wanted to like do acting in some capacity, like when you were like 5, 3, like when you were really little, people used to say like, oh, you're such a good actress, or you were just like dramatic little kid.
So, well, I always wanted to be a singer because like everyone in our family always sings, but I always thought I had the best voice when I was like 3.
You do
And
have a very good voice.
so do you. And
Should we sing on the podcast?
no, that's for the after party. Yeah, basically I always was very dramatic. And I remember when I was little being like in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be like a rock star when I get older. Like I didn't think there was anything in my way.
Oh, of
And
course,
then,
totally.
right. And then like I was always the dramatic one and like the funnier one. And my mommy was always like, do that thing. Do the one with the everyone left, do the one. So like I kind of was just always being like silly and doing all those kinds of dramatic things. So I always enjoyed it. And I was actually always in plays as a little kid. I remember my first play, I was Gretel in Hansel and Gretel.
I don't remember that. How old were you?
I was really little. I was in UHI. I was probably like 4.
Yeah.
And I still remember that.
Did you have stage fright? Like, did you ever have stage fright?
I love being on stage.
Really? You don't get like jitters or like can't sleep the night before?
No, I get anxious, but like a good anxious, like a hyped up.
Right, like adrenaline.
Yeah, yes, like major adrenaline. I love being on stage.
Well, you're like an extrovert, right?
Yeah, I would say so. But also it's different because stage acting and movie acting is so different. I haven't been on stage in so long.
How is it different? Like, I don't know anything about acting. How would you say those are different?
So film acting is you get the script and you study it and you develop your character. And then when you go on set, you do the scene and they say cut. You know what I mean? They take clips, right? So you have to, it's not like you're live in front of people. They say sometimes also you do the scenes backwards. So it's not like the flow is different.
Right.
And like it's not like that immediate instant gratification of like the audience seeing you and like clapping and laughing.
Right.
It's very different. And it's like it's more choppy. Like you do one scene and they're like, okay, cut, okay, do it again. So you have to do the exact same thing again. You might even have to do it 12, 15, 20 times. I just did something. We literally had to do a take maybe 90 times.
90?
It was so annoying.
Oh my God.
But we could not get it because we were walking as they were filming. So they kept on like tripping because there was stuff behind them. So each time we had to just keep doing it again and again and again. So like in that way, it like takes away some of that like genuine it's fun, but yeah, it takes away that genuine hype of being on stage.
Mm-hmm. That
But
makes
it's like,
sense.
yeah, but I love it. It's so fun.
Which one do you prefer?
It's a good question. I think I prefer stage acting actually.
Because like you get the feedback.
Yeah, and it's just more like spontaneous.
Did you ever think about like I know like you're not really on Instagram anymore, but did you ever think about like doing your own like the Malky show? She
Yeah,
just
I just saw
it's
it.
so
Yeah,
cute. It's
it
so
looks
like
really cute.
it's such a good idea. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's definitely like up and coming from actresses now. Like do you ever think about like using your strengths for your own like business type of thing? Or like I know you're teaching acting, but like I don't know, like your own show type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, my goal is to be able to continue in my acting and then eventually
Hi, Zach.
maybe even do my own.
This is my nephew
Sorry,
Zachy.
Zachy was supposed to be
We
asleep. I
can't
don't know
we
how
can't see
he's here
him.
right now.
We can't see the
Wanna go
co-host.
to here, okay, Zachy, go
Co
to
guest.
daddy, okay? Say hi. Okay, say bye. I love you. You have to go to Fluffy. He came out of his room. Zachy, you have to go.
He knows his mom is famous. Okay, so what were we talking about? Before
Oh, if I
Zachy's
would want to do something with that.
yeah.
Yeah, so my goal is to continue on in my acting and actually be in like not just Jewish things. That would be my goal because at the end of the day, I always wanted to be a real actress in a real movie. And everyone loves to say like that's so not going to happen. It's impossible. There's nothing you can do to make it that they're going to not film on Saturday. You're going to have to not dress tznius, everything. People love to like tell me all their ways that it's just not going to happen. And in my head, I'm like, well, if this is my dream, I'm not going to not do it just because people are trying to scare me out of it.
Right.
I have to put my best foot forward and at least try. And okay, if I get rejected a few times, then I'll know that I did my best. But that's where that's what I really feel like that's my goal.
Did we ever talk about this? The books written by Jen Sincero. I think it was Jen Sincero. She talks about like how like you celebrate your failures or something like that. Like there's so much of that stuff in the entrepreneurial world that like people are so discouraged by like other people's opinions. So they're like, oh, like one in every 95 businesses, whatever. Every like 95% of businesses fail, like small businesses or whatever. So people don't even try.
Right.
So there, or like let's say authors. Like I don't know if you've ever read Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert.
I didn't read it, no.
She's like a really famous author, and she talks a lot about that in her writing, like how she was rejected like thousands of times or hundreds of times, and like she would like hang up her rejection letters like as like everyone is like one step closer. Like I think that's where people sort of give up because of all the rejection, and that's like that the people who don't give up like
Right.
succeed, you know?
Right. It's a good point. Yeah, I feel like it's so easy to get discouraged. And I mean, even in the acting school, remember, I got accepted to American Musical and Dramatic Academy in the city, and I called them right after seminary to be like, "Hey, I'm coming. I just want to make sure that there's not going to be this and this on Saturday, and then I won't be able to do this and this, and I hope that's okay." And the administration literally said, "Like, I'm sorry, but we can't accommodate you in that way." And
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't go. So
Right.
that was like, for me, that was like, okay, I guess like that's it. Like I can't do it. And
Right.
now with all of the Frum people who are, I mean, it's amazing, like everything that's going on with all of the people who are coming out of the woodwork, like so many talented people. It's crazy. There's actually a chance now. I really feel like there is. There's so much more talent out there.
I totally hear that. So you want to be in a real movie?
I mean, I would love to. I can't wait to hear what people have to say about that. But
Right, right. Well, this will be my most watched podcast, like the actress, my sister who's an actress. No, but people really know who you are. Well, we were talking recently about how you spoke for Cheskinu.
right.
Can we talk about that?
Sure. Yeah.
So, Cheskinu is an organization that helps women who are struggling with mental illness and their family members. And I actually also spoke for them maybe like 1 or 2 years ago on the topic of like intuitive eating. And I had to have a list on the podcast, and
Oh, that's so nice.
yeah, I saw that she posted that you were speaking. I was like, that's my sister. And she's like, oh my God, that's so cute. Like she like loves you. And I heard that there was like really, really good feedback. Um, so could you tell us like the last movie that you did with Malky Weingarten was called Hush Hush, and that
Yeah.
was about like a like well-respected principal in the community who was struggling with mental illness, right?
Yeah, she was like a businesswoman, yeah.
So how did you feel about like taking on that role, and what was like the feedback like?
So, well, first of all, it was amazing speaking for Cheskino. I thought it was the most warm group of women. Like, it was on a Zoom, and I felt such an embrace from the audience.
Totally.
Yeah, it was so special. I felt so uplifted by them. Um, so yes, so Hush Hush is a movie directed by Malky Weingarten, directed and written by Malky Weingarten, where I play a woman named Zahava, who is a very put together, dynamic businesswoman. She owns her own company. She has 3 kids and she's on it. She makes money. She takes care of her kids. She's put together. And inside she's slowly falling apart. She has developing anxiety and panic attacks, and then it slowly spirals into paranoia, where she believes that she's not safe in her home and her phones aren't safe, so they're being bugged, and she's afraid that the government is watching her. She's always closing her curtains. At one point in the movie, she goes outside and covers her windows in tinfoil, which is to like stop the rays from coming in, which is really something that people with paranoia suffer from. And it was basically like developing into this paranoia. And yeah, it was a really interesting role to play. I did a lot of research. I really wanted to portray it in a true way because this is something that a lot of people can relate to. And this was an eye opener for the Frum community. It's something that's literally so hush hush that people are so afraid to open up about and to, God forbid, say that they suffer from a mental illness. People are so afraid it's going to like ruin their reputation, get them like shunned from the community. And here we are with tons of people who have mental illnesses. It's not it's not something that they should be ashamed of, and it's also a real thing. It's not a, you know what I mean, it's a real thing that we have to deal with. We can't just shove it under the rug. So yeah, it was very powerful, and I learned a lot. And it was a really good way to show everyone that you never know what someone's going through on the inside. People can look really put together and really need help and support. And it's okay to need help and support. That's what we're here for. And it's not something that you run away from. Like she and herself was too afraid to get help.
Mm,
Zahava was too afraid. So she just basically, the plot was that her husband passed away. And when her husband passed away, she kind of just had like a breakdown and never really returned. And she was like on go mode from the day her husband passed away. So years and years and years of just going and going and going and trying to be the best that you can could really have a negative effect on someone. And she basically broke. She broke. And it just shows that you never know what people are going through. People can look like they're happy and they're really not happy.
totally. Was it like were you like guided how to like sort of like embody that role? Did you feel like you were, you know how they say like really good actors like they really get into character, like they really, like you said before, like try to embody that character. Like did you feel like you were afraid to do that, or did you feel like guided to do that? Did you feel like you were able to use any of like your own life experiences to like embody that character?
Yeah, so I used the method I used was method acting, which is basically what you said, using your own life experiences to connect to the experiences of the character. So the first thing that I had to do, obviously, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. When it comes to acting, I had to write an entire background on Zahava. I made her up. I created her. There had to be a past, present, and a future. There had to be what made her be how she is. There had to be what makes her tick. What would she do? There's something called a what if. theory that you're supposed to do when you're developing a character, that every single what if that could possibly happen to your character, you would know what that character would do, just like a human being, because you have to be them, right? Like if I would know what would happen if I would do something in a situation, I'd have to know what Zahava would do in that situation as well. So it's basically using your own personal experiences to drudge up, they call it drudging up feelings, that to drudge up the feelings that will come out from the experiences that you've experienced and the character. It's almost like you mesh them together and you become this character. And it was really hard. It took a lot of research. I watched so many videos. I spoke to a lot of people. I tried to speak to people who work with people with mental illnesses and people who experience mental illnesses, because I wanted to get it from two different sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to portray it in an honest way. That's acting, is, telling the story.
Right.
Yeah. So it was really hard, especially the parts where Zahava had a lot of self-destructive thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And I told myself, if I want to, so because I was using method acting, right, I would take a few minutes every time before we started filming to really, really think in my mind, okay, be in the place that Zahava's in. What am I going through right now? There was one scene where she was paranoid that one of her friends was kidnapping her daughter. And the friend called her and said, I can't find your daughter. She was out walking with my daughter and I can't find her. And Zahava in her head literally believed that the lady was kidnapping her daughter and pretending not to know.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to think in my head, what would I feel like? Have I ever had a situation where I was so scared of someone in my life being taken from me, or someone lying to me and knowing that they're not telling the truth? And I had to feel that, drudge it up and be inside of that feeling and let it explode. And then I was like, okay, ready. And then we would do the take.
So what did you think of?
I was thinking of times in my life when I felt like someone was trying to trick me, or I was thinking about Zachy, my son. I was just thinking, what would I feel like if, God forbid, I thought that he was ever in danger, and I was feel that feeling and let it take over me. The fear, the anger, the anxiety, the distress. My heart would start pounding. And then once I really felt like that, then I was able to be in that moment and do the scene.
Did you feel like you were going through any grief, just from losing your mother, and this character Zahava losing her husband? Were you accessing grief or not really?
Actually, yeah, a lot of the time. There's one scene where I have to sing a song. And did you see the movie?
Oh, I saw it, yeah.
So I had to start crying in the middle of the song. So I was like, what song is going to make me feel emotional? So I decided to sing Mommy's favorite song, Rachel Mavaka. And because I put myself in that, this was my mother's favorite song. It brought her so much joy, and it brought her so much comfort. We sang it to her before she passed away in her hospital bed. And that was enough to really get me emotional for that scene. And I took that I channeled that into being able to become emotional for that scene.
Did you think was that triggering for you, or was that cathartic for you? Did you feel a sense of healing?
I don't think it was triggering. I think it felt healing when I was able to tell the people around me why I chose that song, why it made me emotional. That part made me feel validated.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Was there a part of you that felt triggered by the character? It was a very intense movie.
It was very intense. Yeah, there was one time at the end of the movie where it was basically all leading up to her biggest breakdown. And I said to myself, okay, basically when you're doing method acting, a lot of times, I don't know if you know this, but there are method actors that actually take their characters so far that they lose control mentally and they think that they are the character even after the movie, even offset.
Isn't that what happened in like a Batman with
Yeah,
Heath Ledger, right?
yeah, it happened, but you have no idea how often it happens. I mean, he's just one example. There are so many examples. A lot of times people are able to snap out of it, but sometimes they're actually not able to separate the character from their reality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I told myself, so I knew, so it was like a risky game to play in a way, because I was like, I have to delve into these feelings, but I also don't want to leave at the end of the day and still feel like those feelings are following me and not be
Right.
able to get out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know what? I just said, listen, I'm going to do it for the character. I'm going to do it for the portrayal of the truthful way that this is, you know, the reality of the situation. And I remember I just closed my eyes. A lot of the time during the movie, I would just pace back and forth. Because for me, if like I'm very serious when I'm acting, I'm kind of a party pooper. Like a lot of people are like hanging out and schmoozing, and I'm like writing notes, and I'm like la la la, I'm like doing
Why
like
you're so serious?
yeah, because you have to be. That's just
Right.
how it works. You know, that's how you get into character. And I remember pacing back and forth up and down the street because it was an outdoor scene, just thinking in my head all the negative thoughts, thinking of like a big hand coming down and grabbing me and taking away all of the good things, all the things that I worked hard for, and grabbing me, and like all the negative things that I ever thought about myself or ever said about myself in my head, putting them in, trying to get myself in this almost like shocked state. And so that was really hard.
To get out of.
It was just hard. It was hard because I did so much work not to think those feelings.
Right, right, right.
And
Because you're
and
like
to
actively working against those feelings in your real life.
and then I was like, okay, open the gate and
Right.
and so that yeah, that was really hard. And thank God I was able to get out of it though. Thank God. Like, but it was definitely triggering for me. It was definitely emotional.
Did you have like a method like after the class to like sort of after the filming, did you have like a method to like detox, I guess, from those thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I just tried to keep giving myself positive affirmations. You are
Mhm.
kind, you are nice, you are good, you know, you're strong. Just kept on trying to, you know,
Totally. Yeah, I could see that being really triggering, especially like for me at least, like the grief component. And I guess also like the movie was really trying to shed light on a bigger issue in the Frum community, and in so many layers, not just that we like hush hush mental illness, but we do it because of shidduchim, or we do it because of pride, you know, we do it because like the women's role is like so super power-ish, superhero-ish, that we like
yeah,
don't want to admit that we need help, like so many layers that
right.
really were uncovered in that movie that Malky was trying to portray, but also you as the actress or the main actress was trying to portray.
Yeah, it was like it was really intense. And I think also the fact that I have anxiety and it sometimes really takes over my life was it made me even more defensive, like in Zahava's character. And you know, if anyone said anything on set that was like, oh no, that's too dramatic, that and I would, you know, I would say I would get defensive. I was like, that's not true. This is something that I've been through. This is how I would react. I believe this is truthfully how I would react in this situation.
Right.
And you know, not everyone gets it.
Right. Right. So you like you felt sort of like a moral obligation to like show the character authentically, so that like the From world, or probably the majority of the people watching are people in the From world, probably a lot of people struggling with mental illness or know someone struggling with mental illness, and like doesn't really know enough about it because either no one's talking about it, or like yeah, there's just a lot of stigma around it.
Yeah, there's so much, and 100%, I felt a complete responsibility to portray this in a truthful way. I felt like it would be a disservice, a huge disservice, to not do it in a truthful way. And I was really happy that Malky made an age limit, like the youngest that you could watch it. I forget if it's 15, because I feel like it could have gotten lost on younger kids, and it could have lost, you know, the strength that it was. I think it was really important that only the right people are watching it.
Totally right. And your other movie also that we watched, Hello Tomorrow, was like so good. Um, and that was also like I mean, you really got into character in that movie also.
Yeah, that was a much different character.
Yeah, and you weren't the main character because there were so many other girls.
Yeah.
This was like probably hours and hours of filming the Hush Hush video.
Hush Hush was a lot of hours. And I also told them this at Cheskino. I also, in the middle of one of my filming days, had to get my appendix removed. So that was a
Oh
long day.
yes. Oh my God. You were in Brooklyn and you just like and like you were just in terrible pain, right? And then they had to take you to to the ER. Oh my
It
God. That
was
was just
crazy. It was the weirdest thing.
and then you just went right back to filming the next day. No, it was
No,
a
not the
Thursday.
next
I
day.
remember it was a Thursday. Were you there the whole like Shabbos? No, maybe.
No, no. I was there and then I got the surgery and then I went home the next day. But it was so out of nowhere.
You want to share that story? Is that
It
just
was just crazy. I
you
was just
had like a
like,
weird pain?
I was driving to Brooklyn and my stomach hurt, and I was like, okay, I guess just I have
Like a stomach ache? Like a
stomach
stomach ache?
ache, and I was just driving.
Sorry. I'm just remembering this. The text.
Because
Sorry.
I just sent you guys a
Not
picture. I was
funny.
like, I
It's
was
not it's not funny, but it's like, isn't it like everyone's fear when like you have like a sudden like intense pain? You're like, oh my God, like if I don't go to the hospital, my appendix are gonna burst, but you think you're like being dramatic.
right, and I've totally done that before. That's the funny part. And I was like, which side is my appendix on?
Right.
At first, but it didn't feel like anything. It felt like my stomach at first. So
Right.
I go to Malky. Malky's the best. I like lived in her house. Every time I film a movie, a lot of nights we end late, so I just end up sleeping at her house. Like I'm like she adopted me. So
She's very sweet. She was also on the podcast.
she's the best. Malky is the most special person. So I go to her house. She's like, okay, makeup, hair, let's go. So I'm getting ready. I'm like, oh, this does not feel right. I like sit on the couch and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like rest, take deep breaths. And Maki's like, okay, let's go, let's go. And I'm like, yeah, I think I can't do it. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, I can't get off the couch. And she's like,
So scary.
oh, let me help you. And we were trying to get up. And I was like, no, I can't get up, Maki. Like, I'm in a lot of pain.
Were you
So she's
scared?
at that point, I just thought I still had a stomach ache.
Right.
Or like, oh no, I thought I had food poisoning,
Did you eat at a
something.
restaurant like like the day before or something like that?
I was racking my brain. I was like, what did I eat? What is going on? And I was like, it's for sure food poisoning. Like, it's fine, whatever. So she leaves to film a few scenes. And then she comes back a few hours later. She's like, okay, ready? And I was like, Maki, I'm not okay. So she's like, okay, go downstairs and rest. So I was resting and like it was killing when I was laying on this side and that side. It was so sharp. But I have a very high pain tolerance
Do you?
and I'm like a little scared of doctors.
Yeah.
So I didn't really want to admit that like, I knew something was wrong. So like it was the end of the day. Everyone was in such a good mood. Everyone's like, "Yay, day 5 of filming!" And I'm like sitting on the couch, like eating. Like, they're like trying to feed me pretzels. Like couldn't eat them.
Right.
So mom is like, "You have to go to urgent care." So I called my husband. I was like, "I'm going to urgent care." At that point, I was mom's in tears. I ran into the urgent care. If anyone saw a crazy lady screaming in urgent care in Brooklyn, it was me.
Was it worse than labor?
Way worse.
Oh God.
Way worse. Oh my gosh. I mean, whatever. I had a C-section, but
Right.
whatever.
So you were in labor.
Yeah, but I was crying, like they couldn't understand what I was saying. They're like, you need to say words. And I was like, so like I went in, Shmaya drove in from Lakewood to take me.
You were in Lakewood.
Shmaya was in Lakewood. I was in Brooklyn.
Shmaya was in
Shmaya drove
Lakewood.
all the way into Brooklyn, and we went to the hospital. And of course, in the waiting room, nobody like believes you. They think you're dramatic. I was like sitting there screaming, and everyone's like, "Nah, okay, like you're fine."
It's like when you enter the hospital, you're giving birth, and you're like screaming your head, like she's all at 30 centimeters. You're like, I'm literally dying, and I will kill you. You know.
They're like, "Oh, she's having a baby."
Right. I told Ami recently, like, I'm like, they're so annoying. I'm really sorry if you're like a labor and delivery nurse. I guess they're like trying to like they're just so used to like screaming ladies, but they're like, when was the date of your last menstrual? Like, does it really matter? I'm clearly in labor. And then like for some odd reason, like the hospital personnel like just keep coming in, like a
What's your
different nurse.
social security
Yeah,
number?
like, can you just check my chart? Oh my God. Yes, like that.
It was literally that. They were like, what's your employer's phone number?" I was like, "I don't know."
So terrible. Just so
Yeah.
terrible.
But thank God it was fine. It was Baruch
Oh,
Hashem, like
they knew in urgent care that you had appendicitis.
they were pretty sure. They're like, okay, you should probably go to the hospital. So like They brought me to the hospital. At one point I yelled at the nurse. She screamed back at me. She's like, "You're not allowed to talk to me like that." And she kept pricking me and I was very nervous and I
Yeah,
was
they're
like
terrible. I
afraid.
know.
And I was wearing a mask because of COVID.
Oh God, it's terrible.
And then of course my husband got hungry, so he had to go get food.
I can't. The men and they're hungry. I know. I really should be
Obviously.
sympathetic. Oh
He was like,
God.
"Oh, my back hurts." I'm like,
It's like that episode on Friends where like Ross bangs his head and he's like, "You have no idea how much this hurts," while Rachel's like in labor. Ay, men.
basically, yeah. But it was
Really not,
fine.
we're really knocking our husbands on this episode. Sorry, Ami.
But yeah, sorry. We love you. Love you, Shmaya.
Oh my gosh. Was
But
Maya
yeah,
really hungry in the middle of your surgery?
yeah, he's like, no, it wasn't in the middle of my surgery. I was like sitting there in pain, waiting for like the drugs to kick in. And he's like, "Tamar, I haven't eaten so many. I have to
God.
go get food."
Oh my God.
Whatever. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. It's behind you. So they knew right away that it was appendicitis and they knew that they had
Yeah.
to like
Baruch Hashem, it
operate.
didn't burst or anything.
Right. You were okay. It's just they had to like operate right away.
Right.
Were you put under? Like, were you awake?
Yeah. No. I was put under. They did laparoscopic surgery.
Oh my God. So then how long was the recovery?
It was like for a person who didn't like just have a little toddler at home, probably like 2 weeks. But since I had like a toddler and was carrying things that I shouldn't have been carrying, like I wasn't fully resting, it took like 5 weeks.
And then did you go right back to filming like a week or two later? Or like
Yeah.
oh God.
Yeah, but everyone was so helpful. They were like, "Okay, we're making sure that Tamar has water. Okay, make sure that she doesn't hold things." Like, yeah, everyone was taking care of me.
And then after like a few weeks, you were totally fine.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
Anything
I'm
you want to tell
okay.
me now? Oh God, that's really crazy. That is really crazy. I remember like Tati sent out a mass text and he's like, "Tamar's okay. She just had surgery." Hey.
Yeah, no, Baruch Hashem, it was just an appendicitis. I'm really not complaining. Like, Baruch Hashem.
Right. Baruch Hashem. Yeah. So I feel like we have like we could talk about a lot of things. It's a few like we're like 40 minutes in, but
Well,
I know it's just when you're having so much fun, you know.
I know it's so fun to schmooze with you.
Do you want to act like for the listeners, you know? Like, no.
Not really.
Do you still have your YouTube videos that we could hear?
Oh my gosh,
You
I
have
forgot
some
all
good
about
ones.
it. When
You
you
have
asked
some.
me, have I been acting? Yes, I've been acting since I was really young. I used to have, I mean, I still
A
have it,
YouTube
but
channel.
I'm not going to disclose
You're not
that
gonna
information.
disclose, but you made us all laugh.
I did. I think my videos had like 8 views and they were my parents.
We could increase them now, you know, like 20 years later. Oh
No,
my
the
God.
truth is mommy and Tati thought they were hilarious. So that was worth it.
They were hilarious, and I'm sure they still are. You got to send them to the chat tonight.
I would say, yeah, good times, good times.
I think it would be interesting to hear your take on the whole intuitive eating. I don't think we talk about it a lot, but like, what's your take on like the intuitive eating, body image piece of my work?
I think, well, I've seen you like start from the beginning, right? So like I remember when you were just going for nutrition, like when you became a dietitian and you weren't specializing in intuitive eating. And I feel like just seeing your timeline, I feel like this is something that you connect with in such a genuine way. And you're really able to help people with it because you believe in it. It's like your baby, like you believe in it so much that I feel like that in itself is such a strong thing that you give over to your clients. You know it works, you know it's the real deal, you know it's the healthiest thing for our bodies. And it gives over, you make people want to do it because there's like an ease with which you present it and with which you do it yourself. So I think that like seeing you take on the role of the like intuitive eating is really amazing. I definitely think that it's really good practice. Having had some of my own issues with eating as a teenager and losing weight and body image, I think that having been educated in intuitive eating at a younger age would have really, really helped.
Yeah.
Like if we, like, I love the way that you teach your kids the way that you present food as like there's no good foods or bad foods. There's just food and food that nourishes, like growing food. Like I teach Montessori, that's what they call it growing food. You know, you teach them, and it's not like candy is forbidden,
Right.
you know, and it's kind of all just equal, but it's in a healthy way that creates a healthy eating pattern. And I think it's really special. I think it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. Like, you mean because like I know like for so many people and like our family members, which like I'll talk about, is like it's still hard to give up like the notion of like weight loss or like the thin ideal or like the perfect body, because like we're so inundated with that in our culture. And I don't want to say especially in the Jewish community, because I don't even think that's true. I think people in the Jewish community tend to think it's worse in the Jewish community. I think it probably the same or less in the Jewish community, but I think that we're all sort of like struggling because we think like it doesn't match like Jewish values, you know?
Yeah. In what expand on what you're saying. What doesn't match Jewish values?
Like I was just talking to somebody about this. I'm trying to remember who it was, but I was just saying, maybe it was on Shabbos. I met somebody new at yeshiva, and I was saying that like, of course it's important to like look good or look your best or feel good about yourself or like do things that make you feel good, like whether it's getting your sheitel done or your makeup or going shopping for new clothing. But like the thin ideal, or like I don't even want to say the thin ideal, because now the curvy body is more like the ideal body type, like not like it's like very busty, but also like a very thin waist. That's like it, like basically like the body that
Hourglass.
nobody, the hourglass, but like with a really thin waist, and like the body that like nobody has naturally. Like they're,
Right. Right. Yeah.
and I was just saying that like it's not a Jewish ideal to meet the beauty standards of society. Like that doesn't really
Right.
go, like it makes sense. I think that where people get like a little bit sidetracked with intuitive eating is they're like, oh, like you think like looks don't matter at all, like that's so unrealistic. I never said that looks don't matter. I think looks are really important, and like putting yourself together in a way that feels good is important. But when it comes to like manipulating your body into a way that it will never look, like that's where people just like feel so inadequate and like feel like they will never be good enough, or like they're like, even like let's say plastic surgery, or I'm not against what people decide to do. I'm just saying that like that's like, should you work your whole life to fix your body, or should you like spend time making peace with how your body looks? And obviously within like um also taking care of your body or doing things that make you feel beautiful, but like within, I guess, like normal range.
Yeah. It's really hard also, especially nowadays, because with all the pictures that are just being thrown in our face.
Right.
I actually, tell me if you agree with this, but I feel like there's a movement right now on Instagram where people are taking their filters off and being much more honest about the way that they look.
Well, I think that was a big movement to show like this is what I look like with filters, and this is what I look like without filters. And then once more people were doing that, they were like, oh wow, like I'm really distorting people's sense of reality. And that's just like this, that's like the whole, I guess one of the biggest problems of Instagram or just social media in general is like the curated view. I
Yeah.
saw a really funny picture today. Yeah, I'll try to find it for you. It was like somebody hiking, and it was like me hiking, and it was like her being dragged, right? Like by her friend. She was literally being like on the floor dragged. And then the picture posted was like her overlooking like a beautiful waterfall. And it was like so funny because like that really could happen. Like it happens every day. Like my kids are screaming and they're throwing the food on the floor, and then I'm posting like them sitting eating for that 1 second, like, and that's the distortion of reality. So like same thing with filters.
100%. And it's so much more, again, people can do whatever they want. If they want to get fillers, that's great. But it's so much more common to change the way that you look medically. It's so much more accepted. It's so much more common. And I feel like that just cheapens the fact, like that's just taking us further away from loving the way that we look naturally. It's just cheapening it, you know, who knows what's real, what's fake. That's just one you don't even know anymore.
Right.
And like that's the thing, people's goals are to have a nose that looks like this, that she got surgery. Your nose will never look like that.
Right.
Your cheekbones will never look like that. She has fillers, like, and it's what we're seeing, and it's what we're our minds are just like, it's going over in our heads. I notice it myself every time I feel like, you know what, I have to stop. I delete Instagram for a little bit because I'm like, this is so not real. This is
Yeah.
fake.
Right. Right. It is really hard. And I know like I think I'm the only one in our family that's on Instagram. And like I always like whenever you say like, oh, I'm not on anymore, I was wasting too much time, or like some of my sister-in-laws, I'm like, wow, like I really commend you. Like it's hard for me because I use it for my business, but like
Right.
I think to myself, like, oh, it's not affecting me, but of course it is. Like, also just watch it. Like this year we didn't go on vacation, and just like watching everyone's vacation. Like, it's I don't have to watch them. Like, that's my choice. But like, it's really triggering. Obviously, we don't know the whole story, but like,
Right.
there is still like that. They say like sensory input, like the things that you see versus like what you tell yourself. Like we were talking about before, like the positive affirmations is like the strongest thing. So even if you're telling yourself, oh, like I know that they like hate each other, that couple, which is like a terrible thing to say, anyways. Like you still you're still watching them on a cruise, and you're like, oh, their life is perfect. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It's like so easy to get lost in someone else's fake reality.
right, right,
It's like, it's so bad. And also I always think about it. I'm like, if someone feels the need to be posting this, then obviously something in their life is missing. So I
right.
shouldn't feel, I shouldn't feel jealous of that.
Right. Also, like, I think that this is just like a tangent, I guess, but like the thing that helps me a lot when like I feel like, let's say, like, I notice like, oh, my body for sure doesn't match the thin ideal, or like it's crazy. Like I'm 31, but like when I was 21, like when I first got married, I like everyone was like, oh, you're so young, you have a baby, and now it's like, oh yeah, you're really old. Like you get older, like, and you don't think you're ever gonna get older. You don't think you're ever gonna look older, but like I look at my wedding pictures, I'm like, whoa, like I'm 10 years older, not to
Yeah.
scare you. But then I think about like women who like I really look up to, or men I look up to, and it's like obviously they get older, like looks fade, right? But
Right.
like the way that I feel about them has really nothing to do with how they look. Like I guess that's like all part of like maybe why Hashem does that. Like you look much different when you're younger than when you're older. Like you develop more as like an internal person as you age.
Right. Like your beauty is more within.
Right. So like
And
I think that when you focus on the way that you look, you also focus on the way other people look, and you give like more credit to the way they look.
right.
I'm not like
Right.
I'm not like one of those people that say like, oh, it's not important how people look. I don't think that. I just think that like it's like what you focus on is what's important to you.
100%. I think that, yeah, I 100% agree. I think that people totally take first impressions of what people look like and treat them. People get treated differently because of the way that they look. I 100% agree with that. And I think it's really sad.
Right.
But also I wanted to tell you that like I've listened to a lot of your podcasts, and I hear a lot of the things that you say I really think about. And I remember you, like, one thing that you really talk about is not complimenting someone on their weight, or pointing out like, I see you lost weight, you look so good.
Hmm.
Someone just told me, oh my gosh, this was really upsetting. She said that she was on a medication and made her gain weight, and she lost some weight, and someone very close to her said, wow, I see your beauty coming back.
I That's so sad.
That's like, I can't even, like, honestly, I would have punched them in the face.
Yeah.
But that's
That's a
like
terrible thing.
really that's out of control.
Yeah.
That's like so unacceptable. And I feel like there's so many times when like and now I think about it, like I'm about to compliment someone and be like, you lost weight, you look so good. And I'm like, you don't know what this person's going through. You don't know what made them lose weight. You don't know anything. Just don't say it. Compliment
Right.
something else. Tell
Right.
them you
Right.
like their hair. Tell them like their bag.
Right.
It doesn't have, because I'm help in a way, I'm being much more sensitive to them. And I'm also being sensitive and aware of myself,
Hmm.
meaning I'm unconditioning something that's been so conditioned inside of me
Right. Right.
to comment on someone's outward appearance. And like being around you also really make, like, I used to always ask you, did I lose weight? Did I lose weight? And then remember you were like, Tamar, honestly, I don't look at that. I'm not even the right person to ask, because I do not see, you basically don't see, you said, I don't see it. I don't judge people like that. That's not what I look at in a person. I look at their inner beauty and who they are. So like, I can't tell you. That really stuck with me because I think that I think that that's really how people should be looking at other people. I think that if we valued what was really important, we wouldn't have such a weight crisis and such a, a twisted idea of looks and what's important. Like if only we could all just look at each other as like our hearts. I know
Mhm.
it sounds a little dramatic, but no, but it's really like it's really something that I try to practice. Also, like you never know. Another girl was just telling me, um, I saw her and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so skinny. She's sick.
Mhm. Yeah.
You just never know. Like just don't say it. Even if you want to say it, don't say it.
Right. Right. I have a lot to say on that, but I have to think about exactly what you just said to sequence out my answer. But I know, like, I hear that all the time because like clients or followers will post and be like, "Oh, someone just complimented my weight loss. I have like really bad XYZ," and it's like so triggering for them. Like they're sick, like they're being complimented about their illness. Or like vice versa, like you said, like that person gains weight from the medication, and like people don't want to go on certain medications because they don't want to alter their looks and gain weight because that's like, God forbid, like the worst possible thing ever. Um, but yeah, you made a really good point by saying like that you don't want to mention that they lost weight, not just for them, but also for yourself, because that reinforces like that, again, like that thin ideal, or that like weight loss means good. Weight loss is always good. Like weight loss is like the end all and be all, like at all costs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also it's funny that you said that about like what I told you, like when you asked me if I lost weight, because like a lot of times clients will bring up like, what should I do? Like my sister always talks about this and my mother-in-law always talks about this. And I'm like, I'm surrounded by it too. Like, it's not like I have a protective bubble around me. Like I kind of try to say that on my Instagram also, like kids will come home and be like, I'm so fat, like trying to joke and make fun of like fat people, and I'll be like, don't like shush them, like talk about it. Like don't shush people if they want to talk about it and you feel comfortable to talk about it. Like get the tools, get the knowledge, like start a conversation. Like the same thing with like hush hush, like people will bring up things about mental illness and say things that stigmatize it, and like instead of like shutting them down and being like, you really shouldn't say that, like then the person just feels like demonized or they feel shamed. Like we all have like, that's part of why I do what I do, is like to educate people. Like it's not an easy thing to say to your sibling, like, actually, like, I'm not going to answer that, like, I'm not going to, it feels uncomfortable. But like, I think why intuitive eating is like so special to me is because it really does sort of like, um, challenge those limiting beliefs that we've all sort of like absorbed throughout our life.
Yeah. Another thing that I really appreciated that you taught me was, so I just recently was struggling because my body's not the same as it was before I had Zacharia. And when your phone pops up like a picture from 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and like people look at our wedding pictures and they're like, oh my gosh, you guys were so thin. And I'm like, thanks. So I was like, I wrote on Instagram that I'm taking a poll of people who what are things that you can say to yourself about your new body? And I got some really good responses. One thing that I remember that you said was, it's okay. Someone said this also, like, I love my baby, and that's what I think about. My scars are battle scars, and um, but I also do really miss my old body. And
Hmm.
I remember he said that one time, that it's okay to say that. And that was such a validating thing. Like, you don't have to pretend that you don't miss the way that you used to look. You know what I mean? You
Right.
don't have to
Right.
lie to yourself and say like, no, I never enjoyed looking like that, because
Right.
at the end of the day, you might have enjoyed it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's okay to mourn something that you don't have anymore.
Right.
Um, and I think that's really important for people to know. Like, it's like it's just like, I also noticed it. Like, I was always, you don't realize how old you are. Like, I'm 24, and I was like, why am I not the same weight as I was when I was 17? And I was like, oh wait, that was a really long time ago. And I didn't have a job, and I didn't have a kid, and I didn't have a husband, and I didn't have a house or a life. I didn't have any responsibilities.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just like, yeah, it was nice to hear that support, that people are like, people, yeah, nobody was like, oh, how could you say that? Everyone was like, yeah, like, I have to tell myself it's okay, I have to remind myself that, good things came out of it. It's just,
Hmm.
it's nice to
Yeah.
know that we have those feelings of, sometimes we have those hard feelings that come back, but you can combat them with positive things.
Yeah, I think that like actually like maybe a year or two into the intuitive eating like work that I was doing, I remember like clients bringing that up a lot and being like, I love intuitive eating, but like I hate the way I look, or like, do I really have to accept a fat body, or do I really have to accept a bigger body? And I was like, I felt so like attacked. And like I remember talking to supervisors about it, like being like, I'm really not helping them. I'm really like failing them. You know, what am I doing wrong? And they're like, no, 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 like you're just sitting with them in their pain and discomfort and validating that pain. I mean, like that's like one of the biggest components of therapy. Not that I'm a therapist, but like because of what I do with intuitive eating, you can't really separate body. I imagine it's like just being there to be like, yeah, it's really hard. And like it is really triggering when your family member brings that up every single holiday that you're with them, or like, yeah, like that will probably happen and it will probably hurt, you know? Like just holding that space really.
Right. Right. Not pretending that it doesn't exist. Right.
Right. Right. Like going back to the hush hush um situation, like the movie that you did, like sometimes it's just like allowing there to be like an imperfection in your life or in the world, and like being okay with that. That's like acceptance. You know, I always say like this is the acceptance piece. Like this is like something we're probably never going to change, but like we're going to like actively accept, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, this was so much fun. Tomorrow you have to come back on and do your acting.
Okay.
But where could people reach out to you, find you, or like could they see your movie?
Yes, you can see my movie. It is, they sell it in Jewish stores, so like Gourmet Glatt, Evergreen, Bingo has it, and I'm trying to think where else has it.
Can they get it online?
I don't think it's online. So sometimes Malky will stream it, but like you'll know, she'll have it on her Instagram. She'll put out like, yeah, she'll put it out for you to see. But as of now, it's basically in Jewish stores, Judaica stores. And yeah, if anyone wants to reach out, I'm on Instagram. You can always message me. I'm at Tamar Garnick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like, also one of my dreams is to film actually. So, you know, I love connecting with people and hearing people's stories. So yeah,
If people want you to be their actress, they can reach out to you.
no, or even if they just want to
Tell their story.
tell their story. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Everybody has a story.
Everybody has a story. 100%. I like to do it through writing, but it's really
Yeah.
cool to watch
Oh, right.
people.
You like to write. I know
I
that.
love to write. Maybe we could, you know, collaborate.
Yeah.
I still want to have you like help me with the reels. Like I don't really know how to make reels, but like remember I told you like a client sort of like told me like this whole story and I was like, let's act it. I asked her permission and you were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do that.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, my next
I don't
project.
know how to do reels though. Anyone listening to this knows how to do reels. Please notify
Show
Gila
us.
Glassford. Show
I've
her how
already
to.
been shown. Okay. I can figure this out. Yeah, but next time we'll see tomorrow will be on my next reel as my actress.
Yes.
Okay, thanks so much, Sam.
Love you. Thanks for having
Thank
me
you.
on. I'm so happy that we were able to do it.
Yes, it was awesome. Thank you.